Okay, I decided to do another Hitchcock film. Now, I suffer from vertigo. Those who don't know what that essentially means, you can hit a certain height where you look down, and the ground kind of starts doing this. It's like the ground is on hydraulics. And it gives you that weird, if I fall, I'm going to die, and you think the ground's moving up and down. It's relatively terrifying when it actually happens. So I figured, you know what? I'll actually review, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Essentially, you have Jimmy Stewart. So yes, you have all the, well, I was almost thinking about something almost kind of like this. Would you like to go out to dinner with me? You got a lot of him because that's the way he sounds. And he's a former cop. His partner fell from a height and died, and that's what gave him his vertigo. He's hired by somebody to essentially track his wife because he thinks his wife's being possessed by something. Because he thinks his wife was almost like two different people. He kind of falls for her somewhat. She commits suicide. She goes up the bell tower of a church and falls to her death. And he's like, man, I just can't shake this. She has vertigo, so he couldn't go up there and save her. He ends up running into a woman who looks just like the dude's wife. And he's like, you look just like her. Develops kind of a relationship with her. And that's when the actual plot really begins to pick up. Now, you can easily Google this or Wiki this, and you can get essentially point for point what happens where the twists are located. But this is a nice 2-hour long, suspense-filled, this is kind of like a thriller. And this is done, in an older time where shots take longer, but they feel good when they're long shots. There's a scene with Omi's talking to, who reminds him of the wife. Writes a letter like, I can't be with you, I have to go, don't come looking for me. She writes it, begins to pack her stuff, and then stops. And there's that moment she's pausing, and you're like, why is she pausing? Tears up the letter, and then decides, unpacks her clothes, decides to have dinner with her. There's something that where they're done long, and you've got the right old-fashioned style of music that plays beautifully with it. You have good acting. Now, of course, lots of movies I reviewed so far, there's a huge horror element. This is more of like a suspense thriller element to it. But it works, and it works well. And it really makes you kind of go, lots of these really older movies are really solid, and still solid by today's standards. Because they went more with, here's a good plot, here's some elements, some thriller elements, some suspense elements, as opposed to, here are horror and suspense elements, and then we'll fill in some plot later on. So if you're in the mood for an older, more suspense-filled thriller that kind of hints at the supernatural feeling but doesn't fully go there, Vertigo is an excellent choice.